The Indianapolis Colts lose a huge lead and their second game of the preseason, but that's not stopping the fans' excitement for the team coming up, while those fans are already thinking about the playoffs. And Ferguson fallout after a new curfew is put into place to shooting and arrests overnight as protests continue following a police shooting that killed an unarmed teen.
And we're following some heavy rain across southwestern Indiana. We'll let you know how close this is going to make it to the metro area and if it's going to stick around in your SkyTrack 13 forecast.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News Weekend Sunrise starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to Weekend Sunrise. It is Sunday, August 17th. I'm Jeremy Brilliant alongside Sean Ash. 7 a.m., 67 degrees, muggy outside and rainy in some areas.
In some areas, yeah, and especially once you travel into southwestern Indiana, Jeremy, it's going to be a washout of a morning. Let's show you the latest live Doppler 13 radar scan, and we're talking about folks in Bedford over toward close to Bloomington, getting on the edge of this very heavy rain from a complex of thunderstorms. It's been raining for the better part of the last 3 or 4 hours. Bicknell, Washington, where amounts probably will hit about an inch of rain. We've had close to about a 1/4 inch already in Bedford. Probably will tack on perhaps another 1/4 inch as you're going to start to see some of this head your direction up the road toward Bloomington. And it's just more spotty in nature toward Brownstown and Seymour. And as you get farther to the north, it is very light around the Indianapolis metro area, I should say. And a couple of sprinkles, maybe a light shower this morning. Now, we are going to watch the northern extent of this complex. The strongest storms, however, we believe probably will stay across southern Indiana and closer to the Ohio River, but close enough that we need to watch it. Nothing severe, but there may be some lightning that may pick up just a little bit. Temperatures starting out your Sunday look like this underneath the cloud cover. They're going to be hard to move this morning. Upper 60s to near 70 degrees, and we're expecting a high close to about 80. A couple little spots here. Most locations this morning well into the, again, up in the upper 60s, and we've got the sun trying to sneak through. That might be as much as we're going to see of it this morning. 68 here, Indianapolis, southeast wind at 8, and it is a little bit sticky outside. So keep in mind, showers are possible around this morning, about a 50% chance of seeing some development later on today. And then we're going to turn up the heat this week and talk about that in the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
New on Weekend Sunrise, it was a dangerous night on the roads with a pair of crashes, including one that proved deadly. Officers were called to that scene just before 2 this morning. Received a call for a motorcycle crash in the 3900 block of Lafayette Road. That's right in front of Lafayette Square Mall. Investigators tell Eyewitness News that the driver was heading southbound on Lafayette Road when the motorcycle reportedly left the road, wrapped around a stoplight box at the corner of that intersection. The investigation into that crash is ongoing. And just a few minutes before that, emergency crews called to the 5800 block of North Keystone Avenue for an apparent drunk driving crash that sent 2 people to the hospitals. Officers say the collision happened when a driver blew through a red light at the intersection of Keystone and Kessler, rammed into another car. That officer, or that driver rather, and another person from another car were transported to the hospital for treatment with serious injuries. It's not clear if the driver who caused the accident will face charges. NBC News is reporting one person is in critical condition after being shot during a protest in Ferguson, Missouri this morning. Police there fired smoke and tear gas into a crowd of protesters after they refused to abide by the new curfew. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon declared a state of emergency, imposed a curfew for that area. Curfew runs from midnight until 5 a.m. Several hundred protesters gathered in the streets in the rain as police stood by in riot gear. Some residents say the curfew is a violation of their First Amendment rights. The tension between police and protesters has been ongoing since 18-year-old Michael Brown was shot by a Ferguson police officer last weekend. Police have already made several arrests and say they will continue to arrest anyone violating that curfew. And the unrest in Ferguson is prompting a new call for change in Indianapolis. A small group gathered last night for a peaceful demonstration on Monument Circle. They wore black shirts and dark handkerchiefs over their faces, as you can see, as they held up a sign with the message, "Hands up, don't shoot."
When you see a police officer in your community, it shouldn't bring tension and fear. You should embrace the police. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to be there to protect and serve. I feel like police should also be scared on their own accord to face a consequence if they're out of line doing their job, instead of just a slap on the wrist.
The group is planning a larger rally later this month. They say some people will even make the trip here from Ferguson to join the demonstration. And another group of Hoosiers is in Missouri this weekend showing support for the people of Ferguson. 10 people from Indianapolis carpooled there yesterday. They say to provide first aid, food, and water. Organizers say they wanted to do something positive for the community to show they care about the loss of Michael Brown. Arson investigators are asking for your help to track down the person responsible for 2 fires in 2 nights. They were set at 2 homes just blocks apart in a neighborhood in Wayne Township. Most recent happened Friday night at a vacant house and garage on South Fleming Street. Took 40 firefighters to get that fire under control. No one was hurt, but the house was destroyed. Crews encountered a similar scene Thursday when someone torched another home around the same time as the fire on Friday. This happened 2 blocks away on Rowena Street. Investigators ask anyone with any information on either of those fires to give them a call. Investigators are also looking into what sparked a fire at an Indianapolis hotel. This happened at the Country Hearth Inn near 21st and Post on the east side. Firefighters spotted smoke coming from a room when they arrived yesterday afternoon. No one was hurt and still no word on the cause. Well, it was a narrow preseason loss for the Indianapolis Colts. They took on the Giants last night at Lucas Oil Stadium. New York trailed 26-0 early in the 4th, but the Colts just couldn't hold on. Ryan Nassib led the Giants to a huge 4th quarter comeback with 2 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes of the game. Colts ended up losing 27-26. Rich and I and Dave Claver are going to have much more game analysis for you coming up later on in sports. And the Colts played in front of a big home crowd last night. Despite the loss, many of those fans are already talking about playoffs. The words preseason game didn't mean a thing to this crowd. There were tailgaters everywhere you could look yesterday around Lucas Oil Stadium. Whether it was grilling out or tossing a football back and forth, Colts fans were ready to see their team take on the Giants.
I'm a big Trent Richardson fan. I'm really excited to see him, put some good yardage up this year and really be like the true back that he is, and really excited to see the offense just score big time.
We are hoping 3rd year for Andrew Luck that he is ready. Hopefully we don't have a lot of injuries in preseason and ready just to see what's going to happen this year.
And so it begins. Fans more than ready for the regular season to start. Some already even saying those 2 big words, Super Bowl. Maybe a little premature for that, but hey, wishful thinking.
One game at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do that.
Exactly.
All right, we continue to watch a complex of showers and thunderstorms down across southwestern Indiana. Heaviest rain southwest, but it will impact the metro area. I've got details on that and nearing 90 in the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
Also, a new deal to help cut college costs, how Purdue and Amazon are working together to save students money. And it's the final day for you to enjoy the Indiana State Fair. Next on Weekend Sunrise, the family activities planned to wrap up the 17-day-long event. Purdue University and Amazon are now business partners. The giant internet retailer and the university have a plan to save students and their parents a lot of money on college costs. Books are the biggest expense after tuition, room, and board. Education reporter Rich Van Wyk checks out the deal and the savings.
Purdue President Mitch Daniels calls this deal with Amazon an innovative breakthrough to make college more affordable. It could save students a bundle of money. Students already spending upwards of $1,000 a year on textbooks. The financial burden of those backpacks bulging with textbooks may become significantly lighter for students and families already struggling to pay tuition, room, and board.
The most expensive I've spent roughly that I can recall was like $200, $230
for one textbook?
for just one textbook.
Studies show textbook prices increasing 80% in a decade. Typical students now paying as much as $1,200 a year for books.
Yeah, it's bothered me for a long time. It bothered me as a parent of college students.
And now as Purdue's president. The deal with Amazon promises textbooks, new and used, 30% cheaper than Purdue students can buy them from a traditional store. Students will pay the same as other Amazon customers, but the internet retailer will stock specific books Purdue professors require. That is a big deal to students who don't want to risk buying the wrong book online. There's also free shipping. Soon, there'll be order and pickup centers on campus. Freshman Whitney Rawls bought her books yesterday from a store.
I'll probably be returning all my books and buying them through there. 30% off, that's a lot of money when you're paying $1,000.
The effort to reduce book prices is part of Purdue's bigger plan to rein in the cost of a college education. It's frozen tuition and lowered student living expenses.
Freezing tuition is a start. Cutting the cost of food 10%, real money, and this on top. So we know that we're just getting started on this.
Purdue expects to make a profit on this deal with Amazon. Daniels estimates something in the six-figure range. Money, he says, will go toward student scholarships and other efforts to keep tuition under control. From West Lafayette, Rich Van Wyk, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
And it is the final weekend, in fact, final day of the Indiana State Fair. Some Ball State journalism students created a special video highlighting this year's festivities. Take a look. Some really beautiful shots there from students at the fairgrounds. Again, today, the last day for the State Fair. A lot of events, including comedian Jim Gaffigan at the Coliseum. We have a link to this video and also details of what's going on at the fair at WTHR.com under Hot Topics. And here's a look at the schedule, what's happening today at the fairgrounds. Pepsi Wild Cherry Day. That means you can receive $2 off admission by simply bringing in any Pepsi can to the gate. You can watch the Lucas Oil Demolition Derby at the grandstands this afternoon at 4:30. Admission to that event, $5. Then again, the fair wraps up tonight at 8 with Jim Gaffigan. The Indiana native will be performing again at 8 o'clock.
All right, we've got some steady rain across southwestern Indiana impacting Bloomington, Bedford, and over towards Seymour. Just very hit and miss across the I-70 corridor. More rain and storms in the SkyTrack 13 forecast to Dodge coming up in just a few minutes.
Oh, it's that time of year. I am looking for grubs. Coming up, we'll talk about that and much more.
and welcome back to Weekend Sunrise. 7:15, kind of hazy, a little gloomy out there this morning, but the sun is trying so hard to peek through those clouds. Joined by Sean Ash, we're going to be talking about rain, I guess.
Yeah, especially southwest Indiana, where Bloomington and Bedford this morning are going to have a good soaking. Elsewhere, it's just going to be hit and miss. So don't cancel any plans, but just know if you're watching down across the southwestern viewing area, you're going to be in line for some very heavy rain. Steady rain, too, is the key word here. But you can see where most of the heaviest stuff is going to be traveling, probably Bloomington, Bedford, and maybe heading over towards Seymour. If you're south of 70, you're in line. You're in fair game territory for seeing some of this heavier pockets. North on the periphery of this complex, not going to be much happening this morning. In fact, I think a pretty decent morning despite how gloomy it is outside. Let's dive in now with live Doppler 13 radar, get you closer to some of these heavier pockets. Bedford's had about 1/4 of an inch. I think probably tack on another 1/4, maybe as much as 1/2 an inch of rain. Bicknell, Washington, steady rain, moderate rain at this hour along 231 and 50. And as we get a little closer toward, say, Brownstown and over toward Seymour, it's kind of the hit and miss for the moment. That should start to increase. Bloomington, you're just north of some of the steadier pockets of rain. And once we get a little farther to the north, it is very random in terms of what we're seeing on the latest scan of live Doppler 13 radar. So I wouldn't cancel any plans to the State Fair or to the Indians game. Just know it's 50% chance you're going to get some raindrops move over your area. 68 in Greensburg, 66 in Muncie. You can see the cloud deck, and it's fairly extensive across central Indiana. I'll show you some different camera views. We'll go from north to south. We'll start up in Kokomo this morning on the SkyTrack 13 WeatherBug Network. You can see the overcast. No rain there right now. This is what it looks like in Cicero. Morris Reservoir, not much of a wind to contend with. And down in Greensburg, it's overcast but dry for the time being, but in line for the complex to kind of slide that direction. Here in downtown Indianapolis, you can see just a hint of some sun rays there, but that's going to be about all we're going to see for the bulk of today. Very similar to yesterday, a fair amount of overcast. We're 68. It's going to be rather humid, and it's going to look like it wants to rain at any given point in time. 50% chance if you're at the State Fair of seeing a shower and perhaps even a rumble of thunder later this afternoon between about 3 and 5 o'clock with a little bit of daytime heating. And we're talking numbers that will be near 80 by late day. 68 tonight. Any showers will be early, then cloudy and humid as we go into tomorrow morning. This is now we've only had 2 other summers where we had to wait this long for a 90-degree day. We may see this streak end toward late week as the hot dome starts to build in from the west. The trade-off with the heat up, if you've been wanting some summer heat, perhaps could be several rounds of thunderstorms. Timing still tough, but it does look like it's going to be a fairly active week ahead and as early as Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Here's your SkyTrack 13 forecast now. I want to take you into the next couple of days. We're going 84 today. Tomorrow we're touching up at about 82 degrees, cloudy in the morning, and then some thunderstorms popping up late in the afternoon. And then the rest of the 7-day forecast will take us into Wednesday near 90. Likewise, Thursday and into next weekend as the hot air starts to march in. Air conditioners working full time and then dodging some of those big thunderstorms as well.
All right, thanks so much, Sean. Every Sunday, Pat Sullivan from Sullivan Hardware and Garden provides some great advice for do-it-yourself home improvements. Today, he's talking about grubs and bugs and how to treat your house, keep them outside for good.
A lot of things to look for in your yard. A lot of people complaining right now about bugs in the house, whether it's spiders, whether it's ants, whether it's roaches, water bugs, you name it, they come in the house. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's also grub time of year. So with the lawns being as nice as they have and the weather and a lot of moisture this summer, if you start to see brown spots, a lot of times people think, well, that's a fungus. Well, and it can be, but it can also be a grub. So grub worms, what they do is they actually eat the roots from underneath the grass plant, and then the grass actually rolls up like a carpet. So what you can do, those spots, you can do a little grub check. So if you cut a little square out, a foot-by-foot square, and then just pull that back. So I've cut one out here and just kind of pull this back like this. And then kind of look. About 2 grubs per square foot would be completely normal. So I don't see any grubs here. There's a part of a worm. So no grubs, so I'm okay. If there's more than 2 grubs, you start to see 3, 4, 5 grubs, it's time to treat. Now, the most common thing that people treat with, this is a season long. This is called Grub X from Scott's. The problem is it's too late for this product. So if you have grubs, this is really for an early season. You put this on in between May and really end of June or so. But right now, if you have grubs, you got to go for the killer because right now they're doing damage. So one of the 24-hour killers, that'll take care of them right away. And you would put that down, and that gives you control for about 21 days or so. So just kind of look, but don't necessarily need to go applying this if you don't have grubs. Again, we always try to hold back on insecticide when we don't need to use it. So do a grub check, see how it goes. Now, as far as on the outside of the house, to protect the inside of the house, it all starts outside. So if you do a treatment on the outside, that's going to prevent all that stuff this fall from coming in. So you can do different things. This is a home pest control. Home pest control can be used inside, but you'll see it's also labeled for outside. But get this, if it's used inside, how well is it going to work outside? So what I would rather do is do a treatment. I like doing a band treatment around the outside of my home. So it's very simple. You can get them in hose-in sprayers. Just hook the hose right up to it. Very easy to use. There's concentrates like this, and even it's pretty easy. Let me grab this sprayer over here. Wow, that wasn't easy. So you can actually take this. Ortho makes this one so that their bottles actually screws right onto the top, hook to the hose. So they've made it pretty darn easy for you to do. I've got an Ortho bug sprayer hooked up right here. And as you can see, what you want to do is you want to spray about 5 foot out from the foundation of the home up to about 2 to 3 foot. So just to show you how simple this is, you just want to come out about 5 foot, and you're getting a nice band treatment, and that's going to prevent, again, a lot of the spiders. And I know people that love spiders are not going to be happy with this segment, but you got to understand, a lot of us do not like spiders. We do not like ants. All right, it's as simple as that. All right, start on the outside. Now, the question I always get, is it safe? You know what? Always read the label instruction on the back. Basically, what it's going to say is once it's dry, it's safe for humans and domestic animals. Now, what I always say is, if you're unsure, have the neighbor kids come over and play first. If they do okay, let your kids out there. See you next week.
Pat Sullivan, always with advice you can use in some, well, you be the judge. If you want more home improvement and gardening tips or want to check out previous Pat Sullivan segments, just go to our website, WTHR.com, click on Hot Topics. The city is working to clarify its policy on marijuana, the issue that has it putting out a warning to police officers not to get high, and new efforts to keep you safe while flying. Next on Weekend Sunrise, how the airlines hope to get your attention. A growing number of states have some form of legalized marijuana, but Indiana, not one of them. So public safety leaders are reminding Indiana first responders they cannot use the drug no matter where they are.
The Indiana State Fair, best known for pigs, prize-winning poultry, and pot.
They had soybean a couple years ago, so why not the year of the marijuana seed?
The Indiana chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, or NORML, would like to see that.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good fair.
For the 7th year in a row, they're pushing their pro-marijuana and hemp agenda at the state fair.
Yeah, it should be legal. It should be treated just like alcohol.
In Colorado and Washington state, it is. More than a dozen other states have legal medical marijuana, and possession of the drug has been decriminalized in at least 6 other states. That's created an inconsistent patchwork of marijuana laws.
We still believe it's illegal in Indiana. It is illegal in the nation as a whole, and it'll be treated that way no matter where you use it.
Indianapolis Public Safety Director Troy Riggs says his office is being proactive, reminding all first responders that if they test positive for marijuana, they will be punished.
So there's a question among some people in public safety throughout the nation is if I go to a state where it's legal and I come back and test positive, that for some reason they believe they can't be held accountable. I just want to make sure our workforce knows that we're going to hold you accountable if you use marijuana.
So while the push continues to make Indiana pot friendly,
I want to see legalization altogether.
For now, it's not, and first responders are getting a reminder.
And Director Riggs says he is simply being proactive, that this is not the result of any incidents in the city. And even if marijuana became legal in Indiana, employers would still have the right to punish, even fire employees for using it off the clock based on workplace policies. Well, hoping to gain the attention of distracted flyers, some airlines have revamped their in-flight safety videos to make them look more like an art form. Instead of the typical flight attendant talk, the new videos, like this one from United Airlines, takes passengers outside the plane and to interesting or unique locations. Delta has even gone so far as to do an all-'80s throwback and holiday versions. Airlines hope the more innovative and informative videos prompt more passengers to put down their personal electronic devices, magazines, and books and listen to the video's important safety information. A referee is back in action after an on-field heart attack that almost killed him. Still ahead, how he's making the most of his second chance at life.
And still monitoring an area of steady, heavy rain across southwestern Indiana. Just some light showers around the Indianapolis metro area. We'll let you know about this batch of rain and some heat, big-time heat, moving back into the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
A child abduction prompts a manhunt by police where the little boy was finally found and why his father is now the new target of a search. And a show of support for children of fallen police officers. How much money has been raised through an annual bike ride.
And a soggy morning for some. Bloomington, Bedford, you know what I'm talking about. And a few showers in play throughout today. We'll have the details on that in the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News Weekend Sunrise starts now.
And welcome to Weekend Sunrise on this Sunday, 7:30. I'm Jeremy Brilliant alongside Sean Ash. A lot of people have outdoor plans today. The last day of the state fair, an Indians game, a lot of things going on. So the question is, should you go ahead and do those things?
And dig in downtown as well.
Yeah, dig in downtown. Yeah,
it is a very busy. Clouds are going to have more bark than bite across the metro area, but it's a different ball game down south. Let's show you what we're talking about. Live Doppler 13 radar. Some very heavy downpours going to be setting up shop. Bloomington, Bedford, over toward Mitchell and a little farther to the southwest. And what we've got now here, this is just very light action. Fairland over toward Rushville, because we're on the northern periphery of most of the moisture. Not a ton of lightning strikes, really diminished, at least here locally. But as we get closer down to Bloomington and Bedford, we'll show you some of these heavier pockets of rain that are coming pretty close. Nothing severe expected for today, but this will definitely impact your morning plans, as I mentioned, especially south of I-70. It looks like this is going to be the track of this complex. And then stronger thunderstorms along 64 heading down toward Louisville and in western Kentucky. So we'll have the cloud cover. You can see this is a little spin here, a little area of low pressure that's going to be trekking right through southern Indiana. That's where the widespread rain is in play for today. Once you get closer to the I-70-74 corridors, it's going to be very random where these showers start to pop up here. That's why we're saying don't cancel any plans. But if you are watching this morning, we appreciate it, from Bloomington over towards Seymour, Columbus, your rain chances will be the highest in our viewing area. 60 in Marion. Good morning to you. Richmond at 66 and just about 70 degrees here. And boy, it is humid. Some of the rain numbers, about 1/4 of an inch in Bedford. I wouldn't be shocked if you end up with about 1/2 an inch of rain before this winds down, if not a little bit more. And speaking of that, Future Track 13 doing a good job on the placement, and it's going to put us very close, although we think it probably stays just south of 70, very close. And as we get into the afternoon, it's going to be more of a scattered nature of rain. So daytime high near 80 for today, maybe near 90 before the week's out. I'll talk about that in the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
All right, thanks so much, Sean. This morning, Metro Police still searching for a man accused of abducting his 9-month-old son. Investigators say DeAndre Averett, the boy's non-custodial father, took off with the infant yesterday near 38th and Sherman. The child was found safe 6 hours later at the same apartment complex where the two disappeared. His aunt spotted the pair at the entrance to the complex. That's where she says she convinced him to leave the infant with her.
And I was like, they're looking for you and the baby. Just give me the baby so I can return the baby back to its mama.
Child Protective Services took custody of the infant and another child at the home while police investigate. Right now, it isn't clear if the boy's father will face any charges. Detectives tell us Averett was last seen driving a stolen silver 2004 Chevy Malibu. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call 911. Police and firefighters from in and around Marion County received potentially life-saving training this weekend. They took part in a mock wilderness search at Eagles Crest Nature Preserve to coordinate their response to a missing persons case. The scenario centered around a child who disappeared from her class during a visit to the center. The goal was to train crews on search techniques for wooded areas, a setting that comes with a long list of challenges.
We try to make sure that any problems that we would have in applying these assets are ironed out so that we can do it better and more efficiently next time.
And Sergeant Scott says yesterday's exercise was very successful. All of the search teams found the missing child separately, as well as her suspected abductor. Metro Police are looking for the gunman behind a deadly shooting. Officers called to the 900 block of North Rural Street near 10th around 7 yesterday morning. They were investigating a disturbance when they found a man shot to death inside a home. Police have not yet identified that victim. Detectives are now following up on leads and asking anyone with any information to call Crime Stoppers at 262-TIPS. And Metro Police say that a bar fight ended in a shooting that sent a man to the hospital. This happened just before 2 a.m. yesterday at the Post Pub at 21st and Post Road. Investigators say two men were fighting when one of them pulled a gun and shot 37-year-old Jacques Lenoir in the hip. The suspect jumped into a silver or gray Dodge pickup and sped off. Police are interviewing witnesses but do not have a good description of the gunman. An airplane made an emergency landing this weekend at Indianapolis International Airport. The Delta Connection flight was coming from Lansing, Michigan, headed to Atlanta, Georgia, with 4 dozen people on board. But flight control issues forced that pilot to divert the jet here to Indianapolis. We're told it landed safely and that no one was hurt. A popular lake in Hamilton County is closed this weekend because of unsafe bacteria levels. Fisheries leaders are running a series of water quality tests at the Saxony Beach and Lake. They say E. coli was likely caused by droppings left behind by geese. The lake is expected to reopen on next Saturday. Hundreds of workers in Muncie will soon be out of a job. DIY Group plans to lay off 261 employees over the next few months. That's roughly half of its current workforce. Packaging company sent a notice to the state blaming the job cuts on a lost contract. Layoffs will begin in October and continue through next April. More than 150 people turned out yesterday to raise money for the children of fallen police officers. The 8th annual Gary's Ride began at the Indiana State Police Training Academy in Plainfield. Bicycle ride is named for State Police Lieutenant Gary Dudley, who died after an accident while riding his bike during a benefit ride in 2006. 3 students who lost a parent in the line of duty received scholarships through this event.
This is our way of honoring him. It's something that Gary would enjoy. He obviously was a very avid cyclist and loved being on his bike, and he also was very, very close to many of the children of fallen officers, and so we've merged those two together to build a bike ride.
And to date, more than $150,000 in scholarship money has been raised through Gary's Ride. As high school football gets into full swing, young competitors united as one for their fellow students.
We welcome the Franklin community into our Roncalli community, and we choose to remember 2 young men.
At Friday night's football game, Roncalli offered a special word for Jason Moran and Michael Chadbourne, the 2 Franklin Community High School football players who died over the summer in the Edinburgh drowning tragedy. Roncalli presented Franklin with special number 28 and number 38 jerseys. A 3rd victim in that accident, Sharon McLevish, continues to recover at Riley Hospital. An Indiana football referee who collapsed at the field at Carmel High School last year and was miraculously brought back to life was back on the field this weekend. 63-year-old Joe Calderazzo suffered a heart attack last season during a game. He didn't have a pulse for close to 3 minutes. Some fellow referees and training staff worked to revive him. Using CPR and an AED machine, they were able to wake him. He was then taken to a nearby hospital where he underwent quadruple bypass. Calderazzo made his triumphant return Friday night in Sullivan County for the inter-squad scrimmage. The veteran referee says he plans on making the most out of his second chance at life. An amazing story there. 68 degrees, 738, a little bit of rain moving in.
Yeah. A lot for some.
A lot
yeah.
for some.
Yeah, let's show you live Doppler 13 radar. Bloomington, Seymour, Bedford, you're going to get a good soaking of rain. It's going to make a close call at I-70. I'll talk about that and get ready for the heat this week in the SkyTrack 13 forecast.
Also ahead, the Queen of Free normally has advice on how to save money. Coming up on Weekend Sunrise, she's going to be telling us what we should be spending money on. Popular sports commentators in the city. Now he's the newest member of our Eyewitness sports team. Dave Calabro caught up with Bob Kravitz on the sidelines at last night's Colts game. Here are the guys talking about their plan for this exciting new collaboration.
Hi, everybody. At WTHR.com, Dave Calabro with the newest member of our sports team. It's Bob Kravitz, and we're honored to have you here at WTHR.com. I got to give him grief. You've got a tie on, man.
This will not happen again. I promise.
You won't wear a tie again?
It's all downhill from here. It'll be nothing but jeans and Tommy Bahama shirts.
Are you trying to brown nose the boss? Is that what's going on?
Pretty much. I figure this is my first day on air, and I want Larry and Kathy to have a high opinion of me.
Well, let's talk about WTHR.com. And a lot of people try to figure out, how do I get to read Bob Kravitz? This is your new home, WTHR.com.
It's going to be really easy. It'll be easier than reading me on the Indianapolis Star. There's no paywall to deal with. WTHR.com, 4 days a week or 5 days a week, columns, blogs, crogs. I will be doing the same thing for WTHR.com that I've been doing for the last 14 years for the Indianapolis Star, and that's edifying, enlightening, and annoying.
Oh, we like that. That's what it's all about, your opinions, and that's what you're going to give us on Channel 13. I've had people ask me, hey, you're going to be on television now. Are you still going to give opinions on TV?
Oh, absolutely. I would not have embarked on this little journey of discovery if I couldn't continue to have the creative freedom that I've always had in newspapers, and I will bring opinion. Believe me, I will bring opinion to WTHR and WTHR.com every single day on air and on the web.
Tell me about this Indianapolis Colts. What's your opinion of this team in the preseason right now?
Well, you know, it's hard to read much into the preseason, but quite honestly, I think as long as you got number 12 as your quarterback, you're going to win 10 to 12 games virtually every year. It's a lot like life with Peyton Manning. And, you know, look, there are some questions about the interior of the offensive line. There are some questions with injuries. There are questions about who's going to play safety next to Laron Landry. But I think, you know, they got some small holes. There are teams that don't know who their quarterback is going to be. This team knows who their quarterback is going to be for the next 10 to 12 years. So I think this is a team that has a chance to not only go in the playoffs, but make some noise in the playoffs.
All right, well, you're going to have a week off. August 27th, I believe, is the day.
The 5th, I believe.
August 25th, Bob Kravitz, WTHR.com, and on Channel 13. You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. You bring me my makeup compact?
Well, we got to get his makeup ordered. You think he needs more makeup? Got to do something about the hair, too.
Oh, nothing wrong with the hair.
We'll see you later.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Hair and makeup are fine. I think people are going to enjoy reading his column and hearing more from Bob Kravitz. He always has something to say.
Yeah, big pickup for us for sure, and welcome to the team. Yeah.
All right, let's talk weather. We've got kind of muggy conditions out there, a lot of rain southwest, but people who have plans in central Indiana, you say don't cancel them.
Right now I'm saying no, don't cancel them. It doesn't mean it's going to be rain-free over your area. We just think it's going to be more hit and miss. It's a lot of hit today, this morning especially. You were talking probably at least the next couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, if you're waking up to raindrops, Bloomington, Bedford, and this has been raining all morning long from Linton and Farmersburg, Petersburg, Washington, and this is starting to spread eastward as we were expecting, heading towards Seymour, and I think it's going to get you folks in Columbus where you'll get into a steady rain at times, will be moderate to maybe even a period of some heavy rain. The farther north you travel, that's where it becomes more of the hit and miss nature, from Greencastle and Cloverdale and Martinsville. You've got a little line of showers here that's just lifting to the north of Fairland, heading toward Morristown. It's light, but it will impact your morning run perhaps, or if you're trying to get out to cut the grass or something like that. Lapel over toward Pendleton and Tipton and Sheridan, but the lion's share of the steady, heaviest rain is probably from Terre Haute, Columbus, and then we can probably take it over toward Greensburg as this starts to pivot in that direction. I'll show you the radar sequence over the last 3 hours, and you can see what we're talking about, some very persistent rainfall. Stronger thunderstorms are going to be along and south of the Ohio River, and then north of that area, the atmosphere is stable this morning, so what we see is primarily just going to be some random raindrops for the next few hours. We're going to monitor the progress, see how far north it makes it. I think Martinsville, Shelbyville perhaps are in play as well. Whether or not it really makes it up to the metro in terms of a soaking rain this morning, I have serious doubts about that. Marion at 61. We're going to hold in the mid and upper 60s for several hours, very similar to yesterday. So again, we're not saying don't go out to the last day of the state fair. I would certainly advise you to take an umbrella. It's about a 50% chance that you're going to see a shower pop overhead between now and say 2 o'clock. And then heading into the afternoon, you'll see Future Track 13. I think it's just a little too far north with the steadiest rain. It probably stays just south of I-70, but nonetheless, even as we go into the afternoon, we're still going to be dodging these showers and maybe a rumble of thunder with the modest daytime heating that will send our highs up to about 80 degrees for today. So if your plans are go out this afternoon, this evening, don't expect a lot of sunshine. Temperatures near about 80 for a daytime high. Going into the overnight, everything should settle down as this wave pushes east of us. But as we go into tomorrow, I think we're going to see some late day showers and thunderstorms here. We'll take you into tomorrow morning, a good deal of overcast, and then with some daytime heating, we'll see a few random showers, thunderstorms popping up. And I would say, you know what, get used to hearing us say that because the next couple of days are going to feature these thunderstorm chances. 86 on Tuesday, that's when you'll notice the heat start to pick up. And then as we go into the middle of the week, highs near 90, and we're going to be there for several days. So the warm-up is on the way. Here's your latest SkyTrack 13 7-day forecast now. And though we have storm signals on every single day, it doesn't mean it's going to be a washout every day as well. And near 90 all the way into next Sunday.
All right, thanks a lot, Sean. She's usually all about saving us money, but this morning, Sherry Lowe, a.k.a. the Queen of Free, is here to talk about a few things that are okay to splurge on. In fact, not just okay to splurge on. You say these are things that are really important to spend a little bit more money on.
Right. So don't hear me wrong this morning. I'm not telling you to run out and spend a ton of money. I still want you to get the best deal. I still want you to do your research, but investing a little bit more money in these areas will save you in the long run.
All right. So let's just talk about the first one right out the gate. What's the most important thing, or one of the most important things?
One of the most important things is shoes, actually, especially work or athletic shoes. And this is simply because if you're going to be on your feet for a long period of time, you need something that will withstand the measures that you are taking on them. You want to be sure you don't end up damaging your feet or, you know, making your productivity a whole lot less because you have cheap shoes on.
All right, so wear some good shoes. Another one that I really didn't think about, paint, you say, is an important
this
one.
I learned on my own accidentally. Paint is not all the same. So you do want to invest a little bit of money and not just buy the bottom of the barrel, low sticker price paint.
Okay, and that's, you're talking about household paints.
Yes, household paints, indoor, yes, definitely.
Buy something decent. All right.
Yes.
Professional advice,
yes.
like maybe financial advice.
Exactly. Well, professionals are professionals for a reason. So whether it be legal or accountant or even plumbing or electrical advice, it's a good idea to spend some extra dollars to be sure to, you know, set you on the right track so you don't end up spending a whole lot of money later on down the road.
And then I think that this one is kind of a no-brainer, but maybe I think it's also human nature to put these off, and that's preventative care, especially like automotive care.
Yes, so, you know, oil changes, but also things like going to the dentist and the doctor on a regular basis. Those can save you from a host of problems that will be much, much more expensive than that regular expense. If you pay now, you know, they say a penny now, a pound later. That's definitely true. You want to be sure that you save in the long run by taking care of things.
All right, what about insurance?
Insurance is probably the last one that I would bring up, and that is you need it. You know, health, life, you know, automobile, you need that insurance. It's a good idea to find an independent agent who can shop out several different companies for you, and then you can get the best rate and perhaps even bundle those policies together. But don't skimp on insurance, because it's not a question of if bad things will happen, but when.
And you're all about getting out of debt or staying out of the debt if you're not in debt. So these things are things you're saying put into your budget, I imagine.
Yes, definitely build these in as regular expenses. Don't wait until something horrific happens and you have to do a bunch of backtracking or makeup for that damage.
All right, not always the most fun things to spend money on, but you're saying, you know, make a point of doing it now so you save money later. Sherry Lowe, the Queen of Free. And of course, we've got a link to your blog at our website at WTHR.com. You can always see Sherry here also on the news here on Sunday mornings. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good to be here.
And now here's Dave Calabro with a look at what's coming up next in sports.
Hey, good morning, everybody. The Indianapolis Colts out to a 20-0 lead, but what happened? They lost the game. Highlights and postgame coming up next.
Eyewitness Sports.
The Indianapolis Colts lost another heartbreaker after giving up a big lead late last night, but they still had a chance to pull out the victory late. Dave Calabro and Rich Nye talked with the man that could have been the late game hero.
Hey, good morning, everybody. The Indianapolis Colts now 0-2 in the preseason. They let it get away. If you flipped the game off last night, you're asking what happened. Well, what a dramatic finish. The Giants 27 answer points. The Colts, though, almost pulled this out with Pat McAfee, the star of the show, almost last night.
He wants to do everything. He's already got a show on Channel 13, but he also wants to be the kickoff guy. Eventually, he wants to be the field goal guy and the punter whenever Adam Vinatieri is done. And he can kick some really long field goals. He does it in practice all the time. He got the chance to win the game last night with a 64-yarder, just missed it.
How close was it?
I thought it was in. I did the entire time. I thought it was in. A minute left in the game. We get the ball back. Coach McMahon, our special teams coach, comes up to me and he says, if we get a long one, you're going to hit it. I hit a couple balls in the net. I felt good. 64 is very easily attainable for me. It was three-quarters swinging like golf, and I should have made it. And it's a disappointment to the fans, this locker room, but we live and fight another day, and I'm excited for my next shot.
And Coach Pagano just said that he'll give you that shot. He says you're going to hit one like that to win a game this year. That has to give you a great deal of confidence.
Yeah, well, we hit him in practice. Last season, I think we were 14 of 15 from 60-plus in practice, me and Griff Whalen. And it all comes down to Overton and Griff Whalen being so good. It kind of makes it easy for me. I'm just going to try to keep learning from Vinatieri as much as possible, and then hopefully the next time, whenever I get a very easily attainable field goal, I make it, because this locker room and these fans really deserved it.
How anxious were you for that opportunity when the game started to kind of play out that way and they take the 1-point lead and there's not much time? You could kind of see the opportunity arising, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting 6 years for this, and I didn't hit any warm-ups because we have Cody Parkey here. So whenever they told me, I got excited. You know, the net served to be a good warm-up thing, but I just wish I would have made it. It would have been really cool. We'd had a lot of fun in this locker room. The celebration would have been great. And hopefully they'll give me another shot, because I can't miss stuff like that.
So the Colts lose 27-26. Pat McAfee owes us one. He owes the Colts one. And when it comes to crunch time in the regular season, you know he can do it.
And he'll get that chance again. Coach Pagano made it clear he believes Pat will win a game this season with a very long field goal.
All right, the Colts take on the Saints. Another exciting preseason game coming up next weekend. For Rich and I, I'm Dave Calabro. We'll see you later on the Sports Jam. Have a great Sunday.
All right, thanks so much, gentlemen. Tony Stewart will sit out of today's race at the Michigan International Speedway in the wake of last weekend's tragic accident that killed a fellow driver. A tribute was held last night for Kevin Ward Jr. in Canandaigua, New York. It was the first night of racing at the track since that accident. Race participants, many fans, paid tribute to Ward by wearing his number 13 and his color orange. Track officials respectfully asked for the Ward's family's blessing to resume racing yesterday. They held a ceremony in which they fired 13 rounds of fireworks and unveiled a sign at the track with Ward's number 13 on it. And here's a look at what's coming up at the 9 o'clock hour of Weekend Sunrise. Wayne Township Fire Department has dealt with a couple of suspicious fires over the last few days. What they're asking from the public as their investigation continues. Also, can you believe it, the Indiana State Fair coming to a close today. We're going to tell you what's on tap for the final day of Central Indiana's premier summer event. A lot of people hoping for nice weather to get out there at the fair today.
Yeah,
kind of.
I think that pretty much sums it up. It's not going to be a washout right now, but there will definitely be some showers that are going to pass by from time to time. Now, speaking of washout, a different story as we travel south of 70, Bloomington, Bedford, Mitchell, Seymour, Columbus. I think this eventually spreads over toward Greensburg. It will come close to perhaps Martinsville, Franklin, and we're talking about just steady rain for several hours. Elsewhere, it is going to be very hit and miss for today, so wouldn't cancel plans. Definitely have a plan B just in case some of this stuff starts to pivot over your backyard. But you can see most of the real heavy, steady rain is probably going to stay just south of I-70. Very close call, but we think it will. 68 Indianapolis at this hour, and we're expecting temperatures to slowly creep up to about 80 later today. It's about a 50% chance that you're going to see rain from Indian Points to the north and a higher, much higher chance farther south. Scattered tomorrow, and then turning up the heat this week. We may actually hit 90 for the first time since, mid-September.
All right, hot and muggy, but it could be worse. Yeah. All right, thanks, Sean. For Sean Ash, I'm Jeremy Brilliant. The Today Show starts in just a minute. Be sure to take a break with them, and then we'll be back at 9 o'clock. Have a great morning, everyone.